Hey, what's going on, man? It's Stokely from Sauce on Dulé. I was just scrolling through my Instagram, and I'm finding that social media is a great inspiration for content. But the whether it's advertising or something that some acquaintance shared, it's all useful information. All useful information. No, not all of it. No. Some of it is jokes and stuff, and I guess that's good. It's good to laugh. So some of it is a lot of jokes and stuff, so that's not too bad. Well, what I wanted to talk about, I'm on my lunch break right now. I'm taking a walk. Not very stressful, but I got a lot of work going on, and I'm just gonna take a walk because the weather is exceptionally warm. So I was scrolling through my Instagram and I saw some information saying there's a link between Parkinson's disease and your gut biome. Now, eating properly, it's a recurring theme. It's a recurring subject, if you want to call it. It's a recurring idea that whatever we eat is really having an effect on us in a multitude of ways. The way that we feel, whether we feel sick or not, whether we have mood swings or whatever, because I think the last post I did was about oxaloacetic acid and malic acid, which is being used by some for treatment of PMS. We know that certain foods help to boost serotonin, like green tea and bananas, and and omega-6. Omega-3. We know to assist brain health and stuff like that. And now, since we have a upsurge of mental illness in the world, it's very useful to know these things. So now Parkinson's disease, tragically, a buddy, well, I don't really say buddy, but my neighbor, was probably stricken with Parkinson's disease. He works for the train station. And I was outside, like, working on my car, so I'm walking by, and he was kind of shuffling, and his affect was different. He was never a really talkative guy, but I shouted to him because I'm kind of I'm very much insensitive. I could tell that something was wrong with him, but I don't want to make it something to be down about. So I say, hey, what's going on, man? Why you walking so slow? What's wrong with you? So he said, come over here, man. Come over here. So he called me over. So I walked across the street. He said, come, follow me. So I followed him to his house. So we stood up by the steps, and he was telling me, I got Parkinson's disease. I said, how's that possible? You're a young guy, And I was telling him that my uncle had Parkinson's, But my uncle didn't have it so badly in a, whereas it affected his speech, but he's definitely had the handshakes. That's probably the extent of his Parkinson's, because he was otherwise not debilitated by it. But my friend, my neighbor here, his walking is slowed up. His motor skills are very much slowed up, and it doesn't seem like he's able to lift his arms too high. So anyhow, a lot of people, I was reading some things about Parkinson's. Something like, I don't know, 12 million Americans affected by Parkinson's, and it's expected to double or something in a few years. So it's not in a few years, probably in another 10 years it's gonna double. I don't know why, But it must be due to the food that we eat. It must be due to these pesticides and insecticides and these things that are affecting our gut biology. Or I don't know exactly what's the cause of it, but they said it's gonna double, so that's not a good sign. But anyhow, so the article I was reading referred to a website, and I'm gonna see if I can find it here. The website is called Nature Communications, and the title of the article is Metagenomics of Parkinson's disease implicates the gut microbiome in multiple disease mechanisms. So they did basically an experiment. Let's see how many people they used. They used 490 people with Parkinson's disease. They had 490 people, test subjects, with Parkinson's disease, and 234 people who they refer to as controls, which I would assume these are people without Parkinson's disease. And they said they conducted fecal DNA sequencing. So they took their feces and analyzed the DNA of the life forms that they found in the people's poop, right? And what they found, okay, here it says, here we show that over 30% of species, genes and pathways tested have altered abundances in Parkinson's disease, depicting a widespread dysbiosis. I don't know what that means. Parkinson's disease associated species form polymicrobial clusters that grow or shrink together, and some compete. Parkinson's disease microbiome is disease permissive, evidenced by overabundance of pathogens and immunogenic components, dysregulated neuroactive signaling, preponderance of molecules that induce alpha-synuclein pathology, and overproduction of toxicants, with the reduction in anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective factors limiting the capacity to recover. So I don't fully understand what that said, but what it's basically saying is that the people with Parkinson's disease, based on the research between the 490 Parkinson's disease patients and the 290 something control subjects who didn't have Parkinson's disease, they noticed a 30% greater presence of a certain microbiology, certain germs, bacteria, whatever, in the people with Parkinson's disease. The people with Parkinson's disease had more, let's say, had the presence of more certain kinds of bacteria in their poop. So it was basically, it's not saying 100% because there's not a really conclusive understanding of what causes Parkinson's disease. But what is noticed in this research is that people with Parkinson's disease seem to have way more toxic stuff in their poop. So what they're saying is that the kind of things in their poop are inflammatory, produce toxins, and basically expose the brain to damage. Now, basically the people with Parkinson's disease, their poop has more bad stuff in it. So that means that their gut isn't processing properly. That means that their intestines isn't processing properly necessarily, or there's something in their stomach, there's something in their intestines that's present that is causing them to have Parkinson's disease, or is associated with their Parkinson's disease. What it went down to, let me see if I can. Okay, this is the introduction. I already know the answer, what they said, but And I'm not really going into detail. But anyhow, basically, E. coli bacteria, they give the full name of it because I had to look it up because I didn't really understand what bacteria they were talking about because it's called Escherichia coli. Escherichia coli. So that's E. coli bacteria. So, it's basically the bacteria that we're eating, that we're consuming, that's in our gut, that's causing the problem. Now, you have good bacteria in your gut, and you got bad bacteria in your gut. And, they all work together to, kind of assist even your immune system. So we don't want to kill all the bacteria in our gut because there's good bacteria down there that helps us digest the food, helps to break up all of the garbage that's in there. But then there's some in there that are actually creating toxins that is causing us to develop all kind of illnesses. So I don't really have a solution, and this experiment and this research doesn't go into what you can do. Maybe it does, but I just stopped when I reached the part when I found out what the problem was. I just stopped right there. But this is how important it is what you eat. How important what you eat. How important it is to know and control what you eat. So, there's a lot of things like, okay, I did do a little research on what can help. Like they say peppermint and, certain spices, turmeric and other spices like that, which people have been talking about for the past few years since the pandemic. Everybody's been talking about turmeric, but turmeric kills E. coli bacteria, supposedly. There's a lot of noise over here. So, what I'm saying, or what I'm leaning towards is what we eat or what we're consuming, it has to be clean. You got to be careful, I always tell, we always tell our son, always wash your hands before you eat, wipe your hands before you eat, keep your hands clean, keep your hands under your mouth, keep your hands under your eyes, stuff like that, and especially when we eat outside, where we're putting ourselves at risk. I was at Chipotle the other day, so one of the Chipotle workers digging his nose, and, I don't know how much bacteria is in the nose, but rhinovirus and all these respiratory illnesses spread through the nose, so, or the respiratory tract, whether it's the nose, the mouth, whatever the case may be. So what I really just wanted to convey is that, cook your meat thoroughly, because E. coli bacteria, I think it occurs a lot in meat and stuff like that, so you got to be careful what you eat. Make sure that everything is clean. Don't mix raw meats around vegetables and stuff like that. And if you have vegetables, make sure that you're washing them properly. Maybe you want to put some vinegar on them when you wash them. Maybe you want to use some spice when you eat it, just to additionally help to kill the bacteria. But it was interesting that Parkinson's disease is associated with the gut biome. Now I don't know what caused my neighbor's Parkinson's. Like I said, they don't conclusively have one or a known reason what causes Parkinson's. But just looking at that, you can eat something bad and maybe that will cause it. Now reversing it, I don't know. They say it happens progressively. One of the indicators of development of Parkinson's is constipation. These are just little anecdotal things I picked up along the way. So if you experience a lot of constipation, you gotta really look into that. You gotta really look into that. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water. Make sure you're eating your fiber. Make sure you're getting your spices, your turmeric. Make sure your food is clean. Make sure the place where you prepare your food is clean. I don't know what else to say, and then you do all the regular stuff. Reduce stress, get sunlight, exercise, drink water, all these things, all the regular stuff. yeah, so that's really it. I don't really have much else to say. Parkinson's, in many cases, is associated with imbalanced gut biome. Too much bad bacteria in your gut, toxic bad bacteria, and you know what? You get a lot of toxins in your gut sometimes if you don't shit. I'm sorry, I don't mean to curse. If you don't poop regularly, so that food, that waste can back up in your intestines and cause you to get sick. So definitely you want to get your fiber. Definitely you want to move around to aid your digestion. Walking around helps to move the poop through your system, So I don't want to, I'm losing my train of thought, and that's why I let that curse word out. But sorry about that. Don't use those words, So moving right along. Thanks for listening.